If the Dallas Cowboys lose Dak Prescott in 2025, they are in a world of trouble, and here's why. Without a new contract extension, Dak's going to count for at least $40.46 million against the salary cap in 2025. And by the way, he won't even be here. If the Cowboys do end up extending Dak Prescott, his cap charge will be at least $25 million heading into 2025. What's really great is back in March, the Cowboys restructured Dak's contract, adding 3 void years to his deal, meaning if they extend him, the money that will come due right away upon his current contract's expiration will now be prorated through those 3 years. So realistically, Dak will still probably cost you more than $40 million in 2025 as far as his cap charge goes, but you'll have a quarterback, and not just a quarterback, but a quarterback who's a real contender, versus if you lose him, not only do you have to pay his $40 million cap charge, if you look at a contract like Gardner Minshew, where he averages his cap charge is about $12 million a year, you're going to be adding a guy for around that price range if you're going to have a, I don't even want to say competent team, but just a team with a quarterback who can throw the ball somewhat. You're still going to have a cap charge of over $50 million dedicated to the quarterback position, and you're just not going to be a competitive team. So where's the value in that? The other option you have if you get rid of Dak is you could draft a guy and start him right away. Now the issue with that is next season, Cowboys most likely will be picking in the 20s given their history, their current roster, and the expectations for this season. In 2025, they're probably going to have a later first-round pick, okay? And if you're going to start a guy right away, pick 24, pick 25, that could be a recipe for disaster. Now, that said, I'm all for them drafting a guy, if they extend Dak, drafting a guy in the first round in that range in the coming years, depending on the length of his contract, so that Dak has a natural successor upon his departure. Cowboys should have done that this time around, but they didn't have the foresight. They even tried trading for Trey Lance and hoping for the best to gain some leverage on Dak. It didn't really work out at all whatsoever. So now the Cowboys basically have to pay Dak, or they're screwed for, I would say, a minimum of 2 years. Because if you draft a guy and start him, he's going to take a couple of years to get ramped up. He's not going to be a great starter. Most likely, the odds are stacked against him to be a great starter right away. Whereas if you keep Dak, yes, he's going to cost you a bunch of money in the long run, but it gives you the maneuverability with the next couple of years to sign all these all-pros, all these Pro Bowlers coming up through 2026, and it gives you the best chance to remain competitive at the quarterback position right now and for the foreseeable future. And we got to keep this in mind too. What is your philosophy when it comes to the playoffs? All right, I'm going to give you mine. Some of you will agree with me, some of you won't agree with me, and that's all right. You can talk about it in the comments below. But here's how I feel. All right, NFL playoffs, it's not an exact science. You have other leagues that do 3, 5, 7 game playoff stretches. All right, it's the best of whatever. And typically that helps the best team have a better chance to win, the actual best team. All right, when I'm doing best team analysis in the NFL, I'm thinking, okay, what if these teams play 10 games? How many games does Team A win? How many games does Team B win? And Team A may only win 20% of the time in that situation, but that's all they need. They only need 1 win out of those 10 games in that analysis, right? In the playoffs, it just takes 1 time to advance to the next round. So you may not always get the actual best team, just the best team that day. And that's what makes this thing so exciting and so fun in the NFL, because underdogs have a real shot at advancing to the next round and actually getting something done in the playoffs versus other leagues. That also provides a problem, right? For the better teams that don't necessarily win, well, they are really the better team. They just weren't the better team that day. And I think that's where this team finds themselves a lot of the times, is they may be the actual better team if they were to play a 10-game series. But for whatever reason, the day of that game in the playoffs, they just don't show up, or something goes wrong, or there is some bad luck involved. When you look at 2014 Dez catch, 2016, that crazy throw from Aaron Rodgers, shoot, even 2006 on the Romo fumbled snap. And when you look at some of the all-time greats that have played this game, a lot of them only have 1 ring. You look at like a Drew Brees or an Aaron Rodgers or a Brett Favre, and their thing was just remain competitive. They consistently got the chance to get to the next level in the playoffs, and eventually it all worked out for each of them, but just 1 time, because winning a Super Bowl is hard. There aren't any Mahomeses or quarterbacks out there. Those are absolute unicorns, 1 in a million finds. Those are guys that single-handedly have the ability to elevate you to a playoff contender. All right, and we all know that football is the ultimate team sport. There's a lot of things that go into these teams, in these games, in these moments that indicate, or dictate, I should say, the outcome of these games. So you just have to keep getting there and rolling the dice. So with all that said, do you guys think the Cowboys should extend Dak Prescott? Do you think they should just part ways with him in 2025 and suffer the consequences of that decision and maybe rebuild this thing down the road with a different quarterback in a different way? Let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, appreciate you watching.